Morning, BBR fans and all alike. Before we get into this week 5 breakdown of the matchups, I have some stuff to explain. This is recording number 8 of trying to record this. The first 4 times were ruined, or this is recording number 7. I've lost track at this point. First, at least 4 times were ruined by my father. The 5th time, I half-assed this and wanted to get it done because I was so done with it. Then re-recorded it for the 6th time. No, this is the 7th time. The 6th time, and I did something stupid that I couldn't edit out. So, therefore, I'm going to re-record this all again. And let's pray I don't have to record this more than 7 times. So with that, there's a little bit of rant going out of the way. But welcome to the week 5 of BBR, and this is a crunch time for some coaches, ladies and gentlemen. Some coaches, unfortunately, now need to win out to make the playoffs. Any losses going forward can pretty much be a nail in the coffin for a lot of teams. Some teams are definitely looking strong and have safety nets a little bit for the rest of this halfway point of the season. So definitely a lot of things to factor into this going week. Big time matchups coming up here though this week, and we have to really be on the lookout for some of these teams. With that being said, if you guys are excited, leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new. Join the Brew Crew today because we thrilling with the King of the Crew. And with that being said, let's break these down, baby. So, and a public service announcement. And I'm going to address this right away so that way the coaches will watch this part of the video. I am hereby announcing that if any coaches, whether they are in the basically are in the playoff picture or not in the playoff picture, any coach is wanting to get interviewed or would love to do an interview with me to where I can talk about your season, talk about, how you got into BBR, how you got into draft league, all this stuff. I would love to have a talk with you guys, and I bet the fans would love to get to know more about you. So if any BBR coaches want to do interviews, come hit me up. Obviously, I'm in the BBR server, so you can go ahead and at me either in the incubator chat or private message me. I will say this, it is first come, first serve. So whoever messages me first, I will reply to them first and then stack up the list, and I will do my absolute best to give a time frame to try to make this work and get all the interviewers out there. Regardless of the season is still going and in playoffs, I will make sure I interview everyone in the season that wants to be interviewed. Now, let's get this down into game number 1, which is going to be a male, as good old buddy Kirby likes to say. We got my boy Amel here of the Montreal Ice Cubes, who has actually done a really good job showing how good Darkrai can be this season. So, out of everyone that thought Darkrai could be bad, Amel proves that Darkrai can be good. And to be honest, it's Amel. He makes anything work. I mean, last week versus Leo, he brought weakness policy Quaffle. That man's a legend. I will say I'm a little sad I didn't see anything pop up. I was just a generic Latios sweep, which I would have loved to have seen the Clefable pop off too. But anyways, talk about this week. Able seems to get forget is Darkrai, Petra, Quaffle, Clefable, Latias, Ogerpon Quarterstone, Hippowdon, Regieleki, and Vivillon, and he is going to be taking on the coach of the Columbus Cobalions and Coach T. Rowe Price this week. And T. Rowe's team, in case you have forgotten, I don't know why my mouse is being super sensitive, is Tornadus T, Kyurem, Slowking, Donphan, Ursaluna, Bronzong, Sylveon, Stuntank, Yinsha, and it looks like it looks like a change from what was expecting, because all the previous times I tried to record this, he has always had Flareon, but now he does not have Flareon, but instead has Go-Goat. Quite literally, the goat. Ah! Ow! Who hit me? Anyways. Looking at the matchup here, I really like T-Rowe's matchup. T-Rowe matches up super well in a lot of things that Amel has, and it's just a super strong Pokemon. Now, I do not know if the Go-Goat is a transaction that happened because some of these games get played in advance, that what I can see, so I don't know if this game happened in advance, but we'll have to wait and see. But with that being said, though, Gogo actually has quite a solid matchup into Amel. I think the only thing Gogo's going to struggle with dealing with is just going to be the Petrogrund. Maybe the Ogre Pond would extend, but it can deal with things like the Regieleki, but it doesn't really deal with the Villion. It can handle the Quabble relatively well. Just don't know if it's going to fully be broad. Like I said, though, I don't remember if this game was played week 5 in advance. I'm obviously recording these videos either in advance or after some games get played early, so I don't know off the top of my head. So don't hold to me. But looking at T-Rose team, I think the top two easily cooks Amel really hard. Like, because like you look at Amel's switches to both Torn and Kyurem, he doesn't have one. He legitimately does not have an answer to these Pokemon whatsoever. And I think that's definitely gonna be one of the biggest problems that what's it? Not what's it? That Amel's gonna deal with. I don't know why I'm blanking on some stuff, man. I'm sorry. But I just also think there's some cool options of a potential Trick Room mode in this matchup as well as Slowking. I think with Chill Reception or Trick Room works really here because Blizzard Spam can be really nice. But Trick Room also offers a really good mode with Ursaluna. I also think that Sylveon is super strong in this matchup. And just overall, I think T Rose team just kind of has the great capability of being offensive with having a backup support team in the back and then just have really good momentum with it. On Amel's side, he's very limited on what he's brought, but I want y'all to know something. Flying. Flying or bug. Flying or bug. Flying or bug. Flying or bug. Bug. Flying. 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 Bug or flying. What stops Viblion from just cooking Tiro? Amel, if you're watching this, please bring the Viblion. Please cook him with this. You need the thumbnail glory of a Viblion destroying a team. If you don't bring it, then I mean, it's a Viblion. You could just brought it, But I don't know where I'm going with this. But I really think Amel has a really rough matchup here. I just think he has a lot of stuff that just can't be counter-reductive because like Pecharon's really pressured in this matchup with having 2 grounds as well. So I do think that factors in a bit of the matchup as well. But just overall, I think Amel does have some pieces though he can work with here. I think Darkrai will be really hard to pressure. He's going to pressure T-Row very much. I think Quaquaval can actually get some of the job done, but Quaquaval's heavily pressured in this matchup. He's even pressured enough not to even be raw because of that. I do think, however, this is a fantastic Ogerpon matchup. This is a really strong Ogerpon, as there's not a lot of switches besides just Bronzong that could stop Ogerpon from doing anything. I don't think you're bringing Regieleki. Regieleki's a bad Pokemon. Latios and Clefable are almost somewhat forced to bring, even though like one probably has a bit of a more rougher matchup than the other a little bit. But I think you're having to be forced, and I think your last one was always forced to. I think you're pretty much forced into your top 6 this week. But I think Vivian subs out for either like things like Quavo or Latios. But other than that, it's pretty much going to be the main roster coming in this week. So hopefully Amel can put out a win here. But for me, I have to pick T Row here. I think T Row's just team is it pressures Amel too much and really overwhelms Amel's team in my honestly opinion. So I do think T Row has the pieces to just instantly win this game. So I am going to be picking your coach of the Columbus Cavaliers in T-Row for this week. Up next, we have the man with all the money in the world of the Sacramento Blings in It's Whatever. He has got Sneasler, Zapdos, Necrozma, Mamoswine, Hydreigon, Empoleon, Diancie, Quacky, Cryogonal, and Farigiraf. He has been really tearing it up with Sneasler this season, which makes me very happy because Sneasler is one of my favorite Pokemon. And up next, he is taking on Ark of the Jamestown Judgment with Greninja, Walking Wake, Corviknight, Moltres, Cleavor, Sunguja, Terrakion, Gardevoir, and Weezing. Obviously, James has had, Ark has had a bit of a rough season, but obviously it's the BBR. You're taking on the best of the best, so you're going to have a really tough time trying to get wins this season. But I do think Ark's team matches up pretty decently well into Ants. Like, I think when you look at Greninja being the constantly change its typing, in and out of switches and stuff like that is really good. I think also the offensive pressure you have is really good. Walking Wake pressures a good chunk of Ant's team, but Ant does have the best counter to it in for Rigorap and having an offensive counter in things like crowd going, oh shake, excuse me, always takes one and then just deals it back with freeze dry. I honestly think the win con for Arc this week is Corviknight. I think weakness policy power trip literally will cook Ant's team. Like I think a home clause agility roost power trip set really just wins the game. Like there's nothing that would stop Ant besides hacks on Arc that stops Arc from winning this match. Ant would literally have a hard time trying to strike. But honestly, the only major problem you're going to have to get around is potentially Zapdos with either a potential para or a Thunder Wave on the agility and trying to set up. Obviously, it's going to make it a little tough to do that. But I really think Corviknight can bring in the work this week. Moltres, don't really think you're going to bring that. Cleavor, don't really know. Gudra, you're almost a little bit forced to bring as a Spadef wall in this match. Terrakion offensively pressures quite a bit as well. Gardevoir can kind of do the exact same thing. And I think are pretty much damn near forced to bring Weezing to be a Sneasler checker. Otherwise, Sneasler kind of just cooks you otherwise, besides Corviknight. But overall, I think Arc has some good pieces. But when we look back at Ant's team here, though, like Sneasler just punches, man. Like the top six alone is just super good into the majority of everything that Arc has. I can see even arguing debate to bring Diancie over something like maybe the Hydreigon or your Necrozma. But I just think Ant's top six is it's just really hard to really be able to break through that defensive core of Necrozma and Polion, which looks really good, even with Zapdos, and then your main offensive pieces being a Mamoswine, Hydreigon, Sneasler, is super strong as well. And I just think there's a lot of pressuring that's done from Ant's side that I think is really well in this matchup. I think overall, based on the pieces of this matchup, I do think Ant is going to win this one. And the reason why I think is Ant is like again, Sneasler is very hard. Like it has the perfect coverage it needs. Again, it just comes down to Corbin, which he has literally the best answer to Corbin in the entire game in Zapdos. I mean, there's obviously several answers to Corviknight, but Zapdos, in my opinion, is one of the all-time best. Like, it resists your not steel, it resists your flying, it resists your body press, and it literally beats you 1v1. It either paralyzes you, or it crits you, or it outcomes you. It's one of the three that happens. Zapdos is easily one of the best electric types in the format, so it doesn't shock me that it would be that way. But I just think Ant's team matches up really great into Arc. But I do think Arc can pull this out if he positions correctly with Terrakion, because Terrakion can cook through this man's team. Because besides dealing with a defensive Empoleon, what switches into a rock move on this team? There's not a lot. Like Sneasler can potentially get to a KO depending on the set. Like a choice band set can actually most likely always guarantee it to a KO. But I don't think you bring choice band. But still, like it also just takes one prediction. Like sub three attacks with leftovers just I mean leftovers just to get recovery, not to really be bulky, but like three offensive, like sub offensive good like rock fighting and Zen Headbutt literally just cooks the team. It literally just does the work. So, but I do think I still have to stick with my gut and say Ant's gonna win this one. Up next, we got my good buddy Jason, aka Diet Tight, taking on Pokebaldi, and it seems that this matchup, I believe, has happened, but it's not updated because Baldy didn't have these transactions before the matchup. So my guess is that Baldy and Jason have played this game. But I'm going to go over with the talk about what Baldy had, unless Baldy made changes that are active this week, and I don't know about. So, Jason, like, let's talk about Baldy's team originally before we talk about the transactions he made. With Baldy's team, he has Garchomp, Galarian Slowking, Enamorus, Heatran, Killwasho, King Gambit, Serena, Dondozo, and Satitan. Now, obviously, he does not have those, but I'm guessing those are for transactions next week, which means this game has just been played and is being updated as we talk about it. Possibly. I don't know. But we're not going to look because we're not going to worry about what happened. But as you see, Jason's team, he has got the Ursulina Blood Moon, Iron Bundle, Azumarill, Slitherwing, Tinkaton, Zarude, Noivern, Uxie, Muck, Pikachu, and Misdreavus. So when I looked at this matchup, I was like talking with Jason. Like Jason's matchup is really good in the Baldy. I think literally the top three just put on immense pressure on Baldy. I think a good defensive Tinkaton pairs really well with this. So Rude also does really good, and Uxie's perfectly good in this one. And pretty much what I was talking about was about the six that Jason was going to bring into this matchup. Uh, at least at first. I don't know if he finalized on those six. He could have swapped one out possibly, which I don't think he would. But overall, Jason's matchup is just super good. And when it came to Baldy, Baldy didn't have a ton that was good into Jason. I will say Titan can cook if it is set up correctly. Plus, the combination of King Gambit, Enamorous, and Kilowatcho is insanely pressuring on Jason heavily in this matchup. So I think that's really good move there for Baldy there. Um, I could see the dog Dozo being brought as a good defensive water, but that water gets checked by quite a lot of things. It's forced to be Spadef, in my opinion, so it doesn't take at least a good hit. And this is Spadef with Rindo trying to be able to knock out or counter a potential Zarude. But overall, I think Dozo can still be brought. I think if I was Baldy, I'm bringing Glow King with Trick Room and Chilly Reception because I think Trick Room can actually work decently well in this matchup, even though, yes, there's a Blood Moon. But even if you don't go Trick Room, Chilly Reception still looks really good in this matchup. Trick Room just also fits well because Glow King can take advantage of Trick Room as an offensive breaker. And I've been personally a big fan of Trick Room offensive Slow King. I think you easily bring your Namorous, you bring your Kilowattrel, you bring your King Gambit, you can bring your Titan, you can bring your Dondozo, and then your last one you can potentially bring is the Heatran. I don't think you bring Garchomp at all. Garchomp doesn't really do well in this matchup whatsoever. And I think you bring Serena because Serena does not really match up entirely well to this team. Serena actually could definitely come in this matchup. What am I talking about? Serena was something I was thinking he could definitely bring. I don't know why I didn't bring it in prep. I don't know. But anyways, but obviously, Baldy made some transactions, so we'll kind of discuss quickly about these transactions before we move on to game number four. Oh, and by the way, my pick for this week was actually Baldy. I actually picked Baldy because I think Jason does struggle. Obviously, in the mocks, I will say Jason was actually winning, but he wasn't winning by much. He was only winning by 2-0 or 1-0 in how we were mocking. So Jason has to get the plays right. And with his build, he was able to get the plays right that he needed. But I still think Baldy's team matched up really well to Jason, so I am going to be picking Baldy this week for my choice of victory. And as for the transactions, I'm guessing going to be moving on from week 6 onward. Baldy now has Manaphy, Toadscroll, and Iskew. I like the Toadscroll pickup because it gives him a lot more hazard options, which I think was something he desperately needed because Garchomp, I don't think you want to be forced to run spikes every single week on that thing, which is a really nuisance to Garchomp. Toadscroll can do this comfortably well, which is great. Gave him a little bit less bulky for grass, more of a special defensive grass. He got an Ice Cube, which he's kind of good with his team. I don't realistically know why he picked it up. But the Manaphy pick, though, I love that pick. That is such a better water for his team because it gives him a great defensive setup check. It gives him a great offensive breaker, and it overall gives him a nice, good, bulky pivot as well. And he gives him more momentum with U-turn, which he lost with having Serena no longer with U-turn. So I want to say that that is such a good pickup for Baldy, and I think that's going to be a pickup that he desperately needed to. Plus, it gives him now a fourth Mon along with Toadscroll being his fifth with more speed, which people do have to take in consideration in prepping. So I think that was something that Bully was really lacking. That was really speed. So I think picking up two base 100s, be granted, they're going to do two completely things, but still having that extra speed tiers is really good. So I think that's actually going to really make Baldy's team a lot better for him. All right, game number four, and this is going to be the game of the week for me, ladies and gentlemen. We have here my boy Obo and the Morpeko united with Urshifu, Ironmark, Lando T, Rotom Wash, Jirachi, Cyclozar, Brambleghast, Galvantula, Sneasel, and Florges, taking on my other my bro and my man, John and the Portland Nightshaders, with Latios and Nihilate, Scizor, Weavile, Comfey, Sandy Shucks, Skarmory, Overquill, and Quillfish. This is a pretty big week because I think, because John has only lost one game this season, he is currently 3-1, I think. And with this win, it could basically put him in a position to where he only needs to win one game to make playoffs. But even then, a 4-4 record could potentially slide John a playoff spot. But knowing John, he'll still want to win because he wants to have the comeback season after such a rough season he had last time. Even though he almost had a shot to make the playoffs. But looking at the matchup here, this is a really kind of almost even Steven level of threats and just possibilities on this matchup. And it's going to be really tough to see how this one goes. Like, let's go over Obosi. I personally think Urshifu in this matchup is slightly rough to bring. I think Urshifu has a little bit of a struggle. And the reason why I say that is like there is Annihilate, which can just always be able to revenge it and beat it. Scizor can take always one hit, dual wing beat, bullet punch, beat it. Comfey always checks it. Skarmory beats it 1v1. Quillfish can just wall it decent amount, bullets with Big Man as well to a certain extent. But I do think if Obo has to bring Urshifu to win in this week, he's severely forced to run Roselli Berry in order to hopefully not only live the hit from the Comfey, but try to knock it out after he gets a +2 off if it is set up. But that's another thing. Iron Moth. Iron Moth, I think, is going to be one of the biggest threats to John's entire team. Now, I don't really know how Owo wants to build this Moth this week. I think there's agility set with booster special attack that looks really great. I think 4 attacks that boost your speed looks fantastic as well, as he does need to run booster speed in order to outspeed the Latios. But overall, I think uh, does amazing this matchup. Lando T, I honest to God don't think Owo was going to bring it. And here's why. John has the best check to land OT in Skarmory and has one of the best offensive checks in Weavile and has a deterrent from Landers with Defiant and Annihilate. Now, can Lando still be brought to this matchup? Absolutely. I definitely think there could be a merit for something like a special or mixed Landorus, which can look really good into John's team. But I don't know if Obo really wants to risk giving Defiant a potential boost, but also being able to try to beat stuff 1v1 and also deal with the pressure that Weavile does provide. Rotom Wash is definitely something I see Obo bringing versus John. Obo Wash is just really great for utility and has a decent enough offensive merit in the matchup here. And I think just overall, it's going to provide a really good, strong presence for Obo in terms of both defensively and even maybe a little offensively as well. Jirachi, I think, is actually going to be John's biggest nightmare in this matchup, as Jirachi can literally be anything in this matchup. Jirachi can be Choice Scarf with the flinch set, it can be mixed, it could be like Cosmic Power Weakness Policy. Like, there's a lot of ways that Obo can run Jirachi versus John. I honestly think that's going to be the trump card here. For Obo here, I think that's going to be the one thing that John's going to have to really have the most time trying to figure out exactly what kind of set he has to bring in, just because that's one of the main threats that John's going to have to deal with here. Next is Cyclizar. Don't really think Cyclizar comes. It's not that good of a Pokemon into most matchups. Easily gets revenge, and it has to really be forced to run coverage to check things, so I don't really think he's going to bring that. Low key, Brambleghast can actually be brought to this matchup, but the problem with Brambleghast this matchup, though, is that it's going to do nothing to Overquill and Quillfish to an extent. But it doesn't really do much outside of that. It can do quite a bit. It's a decent. It offensively checks the Latios on a switch and potentially on the grass move. It can technically take on the Annihilate. It decently takes on Scizor. It loses to Weavile every sense of the way. Can take on the Comfy okay. Can take on Sandy Shocks perfectly. Like, it's not a bad mon. And feel like I also know Obo, he'll purposely bring in, say, John's favorite. And then John will have to find a reason to 6-0 Obo. And that ends up either not happening or happening. Just depends on the situation. But, and then lastly, Sneasel. Don't see Sneasel. There's no way you bring Sneasel when there's an Annihilate, there's a Scizor, there's a Comfey, and there's a Skarmory. And, like, there's just so many checks to it. Florges is one of those 50-50s. Like, Florges can come, but at the same time, it realistically can't. Like, Overquill, Skarmory, and Scizor pressured so much offensively. Even if it's physically defensive, it could still pretty much almost always hit a 2-shot with a gunk shot. And also with the poison type of Quillfish. Excuse me. I think it's just gonna be one of those top ones that to bring Florges. But Florges is also really good because he's one of the best Latios checks in the game. It's a fantastic check to evolve to an extent, and it's a really good spit out sponge for things like Sandy Shocks in the Comfey, and to Calm Mind along with it, restore power. So overall, I think Florges can definitely be a hidden option in this matchup. So John, I think, is definitely have to take consideration. Whereas Obo has to look at his team and just wonder why he loses the Latios. Because he kind of just does. Oh, I skipped over the Galvantula. Galvantula definitely could come versus John, but I don't think it'd be Webs. It can honestly be offensive because offensive Galvantula kind of shreds through John if he's not careful. I think Webs would just be like the fourth move, but I think Bug Buzz, Energy Ball, and Thunder literally just be brought and just hit insanely hard. Like I could see Specs, Life Orb, Expert Bell, Boots, offensive, just something in general that really provides great offensive pivoting or offensive breaking for Owo against John. Well, let's look at Latios here. Latios, besides the Earthship move to an extent and the Florges, Latios kind of cooks for this team. Annihilate is also sensational in this matchup, as Annihilate can just be like AV and just take all the hits. I can see John 100% running Facade on his Annihilate this week because the Facade into this team where your normal resist is only a Jirachi and you have a Ghost type move that is Rage Fist boosted constantly is really, really good. So I overall think that John would definitely bring his top two. His top two look insanely good. In terms of everything else, Scizor is a little tough to fit on this build. I don't know if we realistically are going to bring Scizor. I think this is going to be Comfey's debut. I think Comfey checks a lot of boxes here. I think a Calm Mind set looks really good in this matchup. Like Calm Mind, Weakness Policy looks very, very, very good. Like fully spit def HP and then just be able to just swallow hits, just set up Calm Minds for free, trigger that weakness policy, and just be able to go to town. Obviously, the Jirachi is the biggest threat to Comfey, but I think John could be able to find ways around Jirachi. Skarmory looks insanely good besides the Galvantula and Iron Moth. It just checks a lot of boxes and you're going to wash, but I don't know if he's going to fully commit to Skarmory, even though spikes from Skarmory are good. We could see arguably double poison this matchup as Landers again is somewhat semi-forced to either be brought or not brought. It's one of the two. We could see double poison, where Overquill is primarily more of an offensive piece, whereas Quillfish will be more towards being a hazard bot in this matchup. I think Sandy Shocks also looks relatively strong in this matchup. There's not a lot that kind of just switches into it besides Brambleghast. So I could see John pulling out the screen Sandy Shock again, like he did one of the other weeks. And overall, I just think this is a super strong Pokemon. It was team as well. And that's gonna and then Weavile. Weavile actually might be semi forced to stay off the bench, but I do think Weavile matches up super strong. John, if you're watching this, power up dig for the Iron Moth and it's not boost your speed. Do it. Do it or you're not real. But overall, I think this is a really good matchup for both teams. And I've decided to give it to John. I think John obviously knows more how Obo plays, as John and Obo have literally grew up in the draft league together. I think they started pretty much when they were watching Panther back in the APA days and stuff. I think John was maybe young adultish, 17 maybe. I don't know, Cleo. But John, I think John's actually older than me. I think maybe I don't know. Um, but overall, I think John and Obo has obviously played so many games together, have mocked with each other for years, and they just know each other inside and out. So last game didn't really show how good the game could have been without the misses John had to deal with. But this time around, John and Obo I think have a fantastic match. And this is why it's gonna be my game of the week, and that's why I'm picking John to win this week. Up next, we got everyone's favorite draft league player out there sometimes, if not all the time, because he's got the best draft analysis when it comes to draft league. That is Kirby in the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise. He has Gouging Fire, Iron Treads, Rillaboom, Azelf, Primarina, Alolan Muck, Urshifu Rapid Strike, Electrode, and Galarian Slowbro. And he is taking on the man of the hour, the man that will put a smile on your face, and a man that battles for the people and the entertainment. Grandmaster D-Ray. He's got Goldengo, Samurai, Hisui, Pokemon, Heartflame, Alolan Ninetales, Haxorus, Mesprit, Tentacruel, Rabombi, Hitmontop, and Sandaconda. Looking at this matchup, D-Ray is going to struggle versus Gouging Fire. Like, this is one of the worst matchups D-Ray can get because Gouging Fire plus Iron Treads is literally, in so many ways, so hard for D-Ray to counter. As of one of those Pokemon that may or may not even brought to this matchup can do really things. I think a low Muck's also very annoying because it's one of the best Galdino answers in the game. And one of the best little Ninetales checks as well. And even a fantastic Rabombi check, unless Rabombi tricks are ring targets. So overall, I think there's a lot of pieces on Kurt's side. Like we just look again, like Gouging Fire, Iron Treads, Muck, easily. Permarina offensively pressures so much a lot here as well. May or may not be brought, but definitely pressures a lot. I love Galarian Slow Roast. Galarian Slow Roast in this matchup goes stupid in this match. Whether it be 4 attacks AV, Trick Room offensive, it just does so much in the matchup. It's going to be really great. Electric's not a real Pokemon. We don't use that. Rillaboom, definitely don't think it's going to be brought. Really struggles to match up well into most things. If not, kind of gets overwhelmed by stuff. So I don't really think that's going to happen. As of might just get thrown on there just to kind of be sash lead with rocks. Same with Urshifu, might just get thrown on there, but like a scarf user at least. So I think Kurt really just needs Gouge Fire, Treads, and Muck. It's just does so well in the matchup. So fair thing. But if we're gonna look at D-Ray's team here, I think D-Ray actually can have some threats here. Into the most things, Gouging Fire can really be good. Ogerpon Heart Flame can cook if used correctly in this matchup. I think the Veil support from Ninetales is going to come in the absolute clutch. I think Haxorus really wants to punch people with those slides on his face. I think Mesmer's a really good defensive pivot this matchup. I think Tentacruel may or may not be brought. Rabambe, again, realistically, no reason to be brought. Him on top can definitely provide some really good support. And I also think this is a fantastic Sandaconda matchup, as majority of the team that Kurt's going to be bringing is going to be touching the ground, and he's not going to bring any real resistance to Earthquake. So I think Sandaconda can really pop off in this matchup. Obviously, D-Ray has had the struggles, and obviously, everyone's going to assume we're going to pick D-Ray because he's the one fighting here, but I have to go based off my conscious choice here, and unfortunately, I do have to pick Kirby for this one, just because again, you just look at Kirby's team. Three of his Pokemon just destroy all of D-Ray's mons. Offensively, he gets checked by. Defensively, he can actually get checked by. And in the middle of the road of being offensively and good defensively checked, they're all checked off there from Kirby. And I think overall, this Kirby team matches up a little better into D-Ray. But I believe D-Ray can still just find a way to pull this out. He just has to be very careful on how he plays, and he really needs to be careful of his positioning. And also to take the risk so that way a Cobra Berry can make sure he lives a hit from an overgrowth. I'm sorry, D-Ray. Yeah, I'm sorry. Someone had to say it. Someone had to say it, man. But anyways, going into the next matchup here, we have got a height match, and this was almost my game of the week. This was almost my game of the week this week because I felt like this was another matchup that did really great here. So we have got Panther here. Right here's Panther of the Carolina Fables. He has got Excadrill, Cinderace, Keldeo, Galarian, Weezing, Raikou, Salamence, Articuno, Galarian, Tyranitar, Quagsire, and Appleton, and he's taking on my main man of a Galadzo there, the Golden State variety. OG Albina went here with Iron Valiant, Chiyu, Glamora, Swampert, Metagross, Talonflame, Decidueye, Porygon Z, and Hariyama. And looking at the matchup here, we have another great Iron Valiant matchup. Go surprise that Iron Valiant's doing good in these matchups here. I also think this is a fantastic Keldeo matchup too. Keldeo really kind of cooks Owen if he's not careful in this matchup. Keldeo, I think, is almost forced to be Scarf this matchup. I don't think. I mean, Specs would look really good. Like, don't get me wrong, but I really think Panther is forced to beat Scarf. I think Scarf is forced to be brought because it outspeeds Chi and because Chi can always live one Specs Vacuum Wave because of its natural Spadef. But I feel like Scarf just matches up a lot better, and especially if it's not Booster Speed Valiant, Scarf outspeeds Valiant, and you can be able to wean that down and win that way as well. I think Cinderace looks really good into most of Owen's team. I think obviously Talonflame will be a good switch in, but it has access to SmackDown. Hariyama obviously can be a good switch in, but if it's thick fat and gets burned, it's not going to be as great. Chiyu's okay, but one high jump kick and it's gone. I think your only realistic best answer is Swampert, which gets chipped down to 50% with the Super Bait. So Cinderace, really good in this matchup. Excadrill, another fantastic Pokemon in this matchup, but I don't fully feel convinced Panther might bring it just because Valiant can check it with Vacuum Wave and also have booster speed. Chiyu is Scarf, getting outspeed in sand, but outside of sand and it's scarfed. Chiyu checks it. Swampert can always take most hits and be able to beat it 1v1. Metagross can possibly take one and revenge back with a ground move plus bullet punch. I don't know. Talonflame can always revenge it easily if it's got Gale Wings intact still. or not Gale wins. Either Sash or the fact that it's a faster outright. Decidueye can be a decent enough check as well. PZ does not do really much, and Hariyama's a really good physically defensive check as well. So don't really know if you're gonna bring that. Raikou, don't really think you bring that. Raikou's a bad Pokemon. It has the perfect coverage into Owen's team, but I don't think he brings it. Mence is definitely threatening. Mence with dual stab plus Earthquake and either Dragonite slash Roost can really kind of go through Owen's roster if he's not careful. And I think Owen would have to really be mindful about what type of variant of sounds he has to deal with. I think the Galarian Articuno is also fantastic for this matchup because if it does get access to Shadow Ball, which I don't fully know if it does or not, if we get access to Shadow Ball, it checks the Metagross perfectly well for a counterplay switch and then literally just weakens down things. And you can even weaken down the Metagross to the point where it's going to get Oko. So, really good one there. T-Tar, it's only coming if Drill wants to come. Other than that, I don't think you really bring Appleton or the Quagsire, really. But looking at Owen's team, Iron Vale and Shiyu look really great. Swampert is very good defensively. Hariyama paired with that as well is just super strong. I think Porygon Z can definitely punch through holes potentially as well, and also just try to bait out burns and stuff like that. I also think Lamar can come as just like a sash lead and try to get hazards up and let it go down type of thing. So just a lot of factors there with that. And just overall, I really think Owen has a really good matchup here and there's like the utility of having two defoggers as well, with also a just a somewhat rapid spitter in Gilmora. I think overall Owen can pressure with hazards more than Panther can. So I'm thinking I'm going to give this matchup to Owen because he matches up a lot better in terms of getting the hazards up and dealing with the hazards on keeping them on his opponent's side and being able to remove them from his side. So with that being said, we're going to go into our next matchup here. And this is a matchup I actually helped with a little bit. It's not been played yet that I don't know of, but it's a matchup I helped with. And it is going to be our main man, the hero, D Double, and the Edmonton Oilers, taking on the Carolina Haxorus and the man who is claimed to be 6 foot in Leo, aka the 6 foot Hax. Dell's team is Palafin, Blaziken, Archaludon, Thunderous Incarnate, Shaman, Pheasant Dippity, Crocodile, Meloetta and Rotom, and Leo's team is Terapagos, Rory Moon, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Hatterene, Cobalion, Alomomola, Clodsire, Thundersnarian, Sinistra, and Magneton. Looking at Dell's team, Dell is very limited. I'm not gonna lie, he is very limited on his team. From Blaziken all the way down to Croc is pretty much his main six. Now, in replacing the main six out of this roster, Rotom has a decent chance to be brought over something maybe like the Viscidipity or the Thunderous Incarnate, and then the Meloa can also again be granted to do the same thing, switch up Thunderous Therian or the Pheasantipity. Pheasantipity, if it's not Brawn and Leo brings Toxic Spikes, Leo can just set those up for free, so that's where Slave Force on Pheasantipity might be that way to move. But we'll have to wait and see. But overall, I think Dell has a really rough matchup into Leo's team because Terapagos, Rory Moon, Wellspring, Hatterene, Cobalion, Sinistra just set up for free and just do the damn thing into him. I think some specs users can be really possible in things like the Thunderous or even the Hatterene to extend. But overall, Leo has just good setup options and setup momentum for his team to just really do a lot of work. And I think it's going to be some very, very tough match for Dell. I did 3 mocks to Dell. With one team, I crushed him with Cobalion with Sword Stance, and one team, he really played a lot better and was able to walk away with a 3-0 win, the mock, going on for the second team. So if he finds a way to find the perfect balance with his two teams there to fit and to bring into the matchup, he could walk away with a win. I really would love Dell to walk with a win, but based off matchup, I do have to pick Leo though. And the reason why I have to pick Leo is just you just look at Leo's team and then you just look at the matchup against Dell. Leo just has a great matchup. Now, Leo does have to be careful of things like Blaziken, Crocodile, or even the Meloetta. The Meloetta actually proved to be a problem for me to deal with, especially if it was pirouette form. Just overall, it's really strong, really hard hitting, and just really good. But I do think Dell can walk away with his first win this season and try to make the epic comeback to try to sneak into playoffs somehow. I believe it. But if he loses, he's probably guaranteed out. I believe Dell can do this, but he's got a really tough opponent, and not only that, a tough matchup. So I believe in Dell. Let's get some believers in Dell in chat, please. So with that, I'm going to go pick Leo, and we're going to move on to our last game of the season, which is everyone's main man of having some fun and has the best dog on the internet. It is your boy Matthew Drafts, aka Dr. Slacking, coach of your Cosmo Whimsicots. And he has got Donphan, Girafarig, Terrakion, Zarude, Mudsdale, Turtonator, Cobalion, Impidimp, Basculin, and a Growlithe taking on the coach that everyone seems to not like, slash gives so much shit to. And is our boy Keegan of the Olympic Flygons and having Meowscarada, Iron Hands, Volcarona, Screamtail, Landorus, Blastoise, Dragonite, Registeel, and Brushfish. So looking at Matt's team, Matt's Terrakion just it's literally gonna click Mighty Gleam. There's nothing that it really needs to do anyways. What's anything is like an SD variant just cooks Screamtail, a banded variant 2 KO Screamtail. If not 2 KO, it's just everything. If not Oko's everything. Just the dual stab plus solid stance and just maybe something like agility sub or booster or whatever you want. It just really cooks. Girafarig can do really well in this matchup as well. I don't fully know if he's going to bring it because of the coverage of ice coverage that Keegan will have. Plus, dealing with Landers is also really annoying. Also with Screamtail. The Cobalion looks super strong in this matchup as well. I think there's a lot of ways you can bring it, but you may not be able to bring it because of Landorus, Meow, and even arguably Volcarona, so it's gonna be really tough to bring. Zarude looks pretty strong in this matchup as well because Zarude's grass move, he does it as just a rock. SD, grass, rock move, and then whatever he wants to go with, kind of as that last move, can kind of be up in the air for. I would imagine it would be something to check potentially a Registeel. Great Tusk, I mean, not Great Tusk, Donphan, my bad, sorry, man. Donphan looks super strong. Headlong rushing, close combats. It's just really strong in the matchup overall. Basculin can kind of do some work in this matchup. I don't fully expect Basculin to come, but I do think he can do work for the matchup if he is in the right situation or the right hands. I think his Impidimp can actually do really good offensively in the matchup as well. He can do a lot of work. Mudsdale, you might be forced to bring it for some hazards, but I don't fully know if you're going to feel confident enough to want to bring it. So, and then looking at Keegan's team, I think some of the things that Matt is going to have to deal with in terms of Keegan is going to be Meowscarada, Iron Hands, and Landers. I think those are his main three that he has to deal with. I think if you can fit something like potentially Volcarona in there, it's possible. You're always going to fit Screamtails because it's fantastic support and your only best support mon. Don't feel like you're going to bring your Blastoise because your Blastoise doesn't really do much. Registeel can definitely do some work in terms of being a good defensive check. And you only brought the Brushfish once, and that's the only time you're ever bringing a Brushfish Keegan, so I don't expect that Brushfish to do anything else for you. But I love Hands, I love Meow in this matchup. I love Landorus the most. Landorus just really punishes down Matt's draft if he is not careful in how he plays with it. So overall, I really do like Keegan's team in the matchup, but I do end up picking Matt for this one because I think I like Matt's matchup a little bit better into Keegan than Keegan likes his matchup into Matt. Obviously, if Meow has to resolve to being a pivot or a use of having spikes and T spikes, because I believe Matt only has one remover, has removal in Donphan, so definitely could pressure the Donphan to make sure it has Rapid Spin, which I think is really good prep value out of that. But overall, I just think Matt's team's a lot better. I think Matt matches up a lot well into Keegan, but Keegan's proved to be the doubter of me and always wins his games, except for one, I think. But with that being said, that's gonna be the BBR Pickems, guys. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the matchups down below. And like I said before, if any coach would like an interview, please hit me up. First come, first serve. Please remember that. And again, some of these transactions are highlighted based off matches that have happened during, after, whatever. I don't know. So with that being said, though, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to every coach down in the BBR in the description down below along with the timestamps that I'm going to be doing for this, which is going to be very, very annoying. So, Obo, you better be willing to pay me some bucks when I come up and visit you someday, man. I'm expecting burgers, man. I want a good place that has good selling goods on good burgers. You better promise me a good lunch or dinner, whatever we're going to go on a date for. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.